We continue to follow a story that we broke first on CBSMiami.com earlier today. New allegations that Miami Beach State Representative Fabian Basabe is accused in a lawsuit of sexually harassing former intern and his legislative aide. Good evening, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Jim Barry. This is a joint investigation between CBS News Miami's Jim DeFede and our partners at the Miami Herald. Jim joins us now. So Jim, bring us up to speed. What is the very latest on this rapidly developing story?
So let's first categorize what exactly the allegations are. There are, as you said, two staffers, a former intern and a legislative aide, who say that Representative Fabian Basabe, a Republican, represents Miami Beach and Northeast Dade County, continually and repeatedly sexually harassed them, made lewd and suggestive comments, even going so far as to try to touch, grope, or kiss them on various occasions. Now, these again are all allegations, and Fabian Basabe denies that he did any of those things. But one of the things that we found in the course of our investigation is that, at least in the case of the intern, Jacob Cutbirth, who's 24 years old, he was able to provide some documentation in the form of text messages that he sent to a friend of his at the time that the harassment was going on, in which he talked about the fact that he was being harassed. He shared it with the person who he worked for as well. He worked as a bartender in Tallahassee, and the bar owner says that he cautioned Jacob to be careful, that he felt that the actions that Jacob described Basabe was doing was dangerous, and he should quit his internship. And instead, we see more and more of this allegation. Now this right now has led to a new investigation being called for by the House Speaker, Paul Renner. He's calling for an outside law firm to come in. He's promising that they will do a thorough investigation, that they have a zero tolerance policy on sexual harassment. But the attorneys for these two young men are not optimistic that the House will do this, because they say that the House was aware of these sexual harassment allegations earlier and did nothing about it. Again, I want to stress, Fabian Basabe denies that he did any of this, that these are all scurrilous allegations against him. He's also being sued for defamation for statements he made about one of these young men, very disparaging statements. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out. I will also tell you this is going to turn political. The chair of the Florida Democratic Party today came out and is asking for Fabian Basabe to resign. No indication that he's going to do that. So we're going to be paying attention. I think there's going to be a lot of fast-moving developments over the coming days and weeks.
And Fabian Basabe is going to continue saying that this is all politically targeting him. Jim, you've covered the legislature and often deal with staff members. What can you tell us about the people who work there?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's one of the things that makes this additionally serious. The types of people who work at the legislature, there's two types. There's the older, more experienced career folks who have done this for decades. They usually outlast the legislators they serve. And then there's the young folks who come in there, the 20-somethings, who try to get a little bit of experience. They're usually fired up, and they haven't had their optimism crushed. They're people who are trying to do and contribute and want to be involved in politics, which is something we all encourage. And in fact, one of the things that when I interviewed Fabian Basabe, before I started discussing the allegations of harassment against him, I asked him about the young people who work for him. Again, the former intern is 24 years old. The legislative staffer who claims that he was sexually harassed is 25-year-old. I asked him if he feels any sense of responsibility. I think we have a clip. Let's play some of that sound now. For those young people, do you feel protective of them?
Well, everyone's on the same team. Of course we're protective of them. Sure.
Well, no, I meant, like you're sort of you're someone who's providing
a mentor type.
Yeah. Do you see it that way? If not, that's fine. I just didn't know.
I see everyone that I meet, as an opportunity to learn from each other, and whether it's a mentorship or a leadership role that I play, I tend to be, more in the leadership position, but I'm always eager to learn, and I'll learn from anybody. And this is someone that I let into my life. I mean, when you work with somebody those long hours, they get to know you, they know your family, they become part of your work family. So, you want to see them succeed.
So I do think it's important to remember that there are real lives involved, not just the two young people, but Fabian Basabe as well. So we're going to have to dig deeper into this, find out more, see what else comes forward, and look forward to the investigation and sort of see what it turns up. But, this is the beginning of a long road, I feel.
I think you're right there, Jim. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jim.